Welcome, magical souls. April here on Natural Witchery. I was thinking, what video could I do right now that would be inspiring? And I was thinking how much my books inspire me and inspire my magical practice. So today's video is about just that, about books that inspire my magical practice. This is not, of course, extensive, but I picked out 5, I'm going to call them academic books that inspire me, and then 2 fiction books that inspire my magical practice. And I'm going to talk about these from 3 different angles. I'll tell you about why I like them, what inspires me about them, and then the practicalities of the books themselves, like what makes them really practical books that kind of put wheels to the ground. I know that normally I do vlog style videos, but honestly, it's just not sustainable for me, especially here in spring on the farm. I just can't do it. And I want to be able to share more content and more of my heart. So let me know what you think about these types of videos. And also let me know what you think about book videos and what types of books you might be interested in me sharing in the future down below in the comments. I also want to let you know that when you sign up for my newsletter, you get access to my free learning library. Be forewarned, I'm really sporadic on my newsletter. I just don't do it a lot unless I have something I really want to share with the magical community. I just don't. So don't expect a lot of them, and you'll just have to keep a weather eye out for them if you're really interested in reading them. When you do get into my learning library, make sure to bookmark it because there's no other way in there. It's not like you can go to my site and just click on a button. You have to sign up for my newsletter every time to get in, and you don't want to do that. So just bookmark it. Lots of fun stuff in there, and it's always kind of growing and changing. So let's head over to my table over there across the room so I can show you what's inside these books and why these books inspire my magical practice, and hopefully they will do the same for you. Here we are over here. I just recorded this whole thing and found out it didn't record right. So here we are again. It was a little long, so I'm going to be less long-winded this time. I do want to tell you that I have all of the books I recommend down below in the description box. There's a link on Amazon, and if you do use that link, then I will make a small amount of money and you'll support this channel. However, I do want to say if you have a local book retailer or metaphysical store where you can get these books, I just want to recommend that because then you keep your monies in your community and you support the shops that you want to stay open. And a lot of times a shop will close and will say, oh, I wish that shop had stayed open. But then I have to ask you, did you spend your dollars there? So I encourage that. And then I also encourage buying these books used. A lot of them, you're not going to be able to get them used because they are newer. But when we buy books used, we get to reduce, reuse, and recycle. And that is always amazing. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Book number 1 is Knowledge to Forage by Dane and Stella DeLuca Mulandi. I'm sure I'm getting that wrong. You may recognize them from YouTube. They have a YouTube channel, and a lot of this stuff is on their YouTube channel, but the book is just this incredible reference, okay? It's amazing. So let's take a look at it because it's really cool. What I like about this book is that it is an incredible reference book. These are, it's full color. These are herbs that you're going to find in the realm around you. You're going to find them if you're in the northern hemisphere, I should say that. Maybe not so much in the southern hemisphere. Look, here's elder. And in each one of it has like the family, it's got all the Latin affiliations with it. It's got the harvest time. I mean, it's got all that you need in order to go wildcraft it. You'll find that there's the identification, the nutritional properties, the culinary uses. It's got other uses, value to the wildlife, which is really neat. That's kind of a fun thing that you don't find everywhere. It's got traditional uses. It's got the scientific studies on it. So it's not just gobbledygook about like, hey, this is really cool and there's some myth that this works, but they've got the scientific studies on it. It's got their personal thoughts on it. And then what really makes it neat is that it has, well, this one says about asking permission, but in a lot of them, it will have, not all of them, it will have the history and folklore and mythology. And so you get a story that goes with it, which is really, really fun. And it's just beautiful. In the back of the book, this is really neat. It's got the herbs that they go through it, that they use in the book. I'm just so excited. It's got the herbs that they use in the book, and it's got these great links that you can go to on the net to look at the scientific studies of the herbs that are in here. When you buy this book, you are supporting a YouTube creator, and you can get it in the UK because they are from the UK on Amazon, and you can also get it in the US on Amazon. Knowledge to Forage, such a good book. Why this inspires me? Because I can go outside and I can get this stuff. This reminds me to get out there and play with what's there. And a lot of these are just cool everyday recipes. Like you can see that they have kids. And so, I mean, there's like different pancake syrups and different cakes that you can make. And it's things that you can actually do. And so to me, that's really inspiring. It's a wonderful reference book. It's beautiful. They have a new book coming out. I'll probably get that one as well. Knowledge to Forage. I think this is a great book. And this is such a great book because you're going to find it. You're going to find it in your neighborhood. You're going to find it in your wildlands. It's going to be accessible to you. And that's what makes this book such a great book and on my list of books that inspire me in my magical practice. Book number 2. In line with herbal crafting and so forth. Brand new book. Like I literally pre-ordered this and it came on Friday. It is now Monday. So I've spent the weekend going through this book. I've pretty much read it cover to cover over the weekend. Dun, 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 The Witch's Apothecary. And this is by Lorraine Anderson and Rockpool Publishing. Oh, this book is really pretty, you guys. Really, really pretty. You may recognize this because she has done the Wheel of the Year. I'm just pulling one out. The Seasons of the Witch Oracles. So she's got the Samhain, Yule, and Beeltana ones out. And I've already ordered the Mabon one. I want it. I love it. I love them. They are great. This book, first of all, it's gorgeous. So how it inspires me. It inspires me, first of all, honestly, to get back to making my own herbal grimoire, of taking my recipes and putting them down and keeping it simple. Like I really feel like these are simple, accessible ones. Each Sabbat is going to have these beautiful, different, sort of like country, I don't know how else to say it, country kitsch sort of look to it. And they've got different ones. So there's Yule and here's Imbolc with all the candles. Each one of the sections has the Sabbat, and it's got the themes and workings that are good during that time. This is not extensive, so you could always pencil in what you want. It's got correspondences, colors, plants and essential oils, animals, deities, and crystals. I'm not so much into this. This is a little more new age. What I find is that each section is very doable recipes. This is interesting. I'm like, I wouldn't call this a beginner's book. Look how pretty it is. It's so pretty, you guys. Such a pretty book. I would not call this a beginner's book, and yet a beginner could use it. At the beginning, the first maybe third of the book. Yeah. So like, let's look at this. The first third of the book is really on magical principles, colors, correspondences. It's got all the carrier oils in there with their correspondences with each carrier oil and how they magically work. It does not talk about some pretty important stuff, which is why I don't think this is a beginner's book per se. For instance, it does not talk about when carrier oils go bad. You're not going to learn how to make soap in here. You're not going to learn how to make essential oils. This is kind of like a mixology book. Why I like this book and why I feel like it's a good reference book and it's just lovely. First of all, it's got Each Sabbath kind of has its own theme. So I think it was like Litha is very beauty oriented. So there's a lot of facial oils and masks and mists and things like that that you can do. And Mabon has a lot of edible things that are in it. So I didn't feel like it was repetitive. The mixtures of essential oils I thought were really unique and fabulous. These are things that, like when it talks about making a conditioner, you're going to use your own conditioner and then add, or you're going to use an unscented conditioner and then add these properties to it. So you're not making things from scratch. You're basically mixing materials that are already available to you around. I do think that it doesn't talk too much about spoilage. And so I think you need to have a little bit of know-how, but for the most part, this is a great recipe book. A great recipe book. It just came out. It's gorgeous. I'm so happy I got it. I'm really happy to support her and her work. And I love things that tie me to the Wheel of the Year because I love being able to just really tap into what's going on right now and to open up a book to a chapter and just be inspired. And that's exactly what The Witch's Apothecary does. Speaking of the Wheel of the Year, this book, I just don't know why this book doesn't get mentioned more. I absolutely love this book. It's by H. Byron Ballard, Seasons of a Magical Life. This book, beautifully, beautifully written, so inspiring. She has a way with words, and unlike other Wheel of the Year books, this book is completely unique. What makes this book unique is that it is the first third of the book, probably. Let's see. Well, I'm almost there, but the first third of the book is on tapping into seasons in different ways, like tapping in with your ancestors, tapping into, like, look at the name of this. Actually, let's go to the front. That'll be easier for me to read some of the names of the chapters to you. So background essays. So this is like, she's got something on animism. She's got concepts of time, tapping into time and the turning of the wheel. This is very story driven. This is very personal, interactive driven, which I really, really enjoy. She's got working with land, spirits. She's got, look, the wheel of the agricultural year. And so that is like, to me, that's, I mean, I've got an agricultural farm, but most of us are living in relationship to the world around us. So the way she writes is beautiful. What you get when you get to the Sabbaths is not the same old, same old. You're just, it's just not like, do this kind of spell and that kind of spell. It isn't like that. This is natural witchcraft, born out of her own story. As a matter of fact, each one of the chapters begins with letters from the forest farm. And so she talks about her life on her farm, like what's going on, how she's feeling. And to me, it reminds me to tap into how I'm feeling with the world around me. Seasons of a Magical Life will inspire you to really tap into your own natural rhythms, to allow yourself to trust your own magic and your stories and to see what your rhythmic stories are, because it is a book of story. It's wonderfully written, you guys. It's really, really beautiful. But again, I don't need to read this cover to cover. I love books like that as well. I can simply pick this up and go, I'm feeling kind of blah, or I just want something to inspire me, and I can open up to even the first part and read up, and it really will have me looking at the world in a different way. And I'm looking over out my window because I have these windows over here, French doors to the outside. It just helps you to look at things in a new way, to remind you that you're naturally attuned to what's going on and how you can tap into the natural seasons and rhythms. Again, the ideas for working throughout the year are so different than anything else. It reminds me of the husband and wife team. Oh my gosh, I'm going to push pause and go find it. Here they are, by Pauline and Dan Campanelli. Do you remember these books, everybody? They're super old. Ancient Ways and Wheel of the Year. This is very Wiccan. This is really, really Wiccan based. But it's very much like natural stories, what's going on their farm, like the different things that they do. However, I said it's very Wiccan. This is just pagan or heathen, whichever you prefer. So there's nothing, it's not deity focused. It's not like, now we're honoring Brigid. It's a pagan path of living with the land, connecting with the land. So good. Seasons of a Magical Year. Okay, that's book, what, 2? 3? 2. Book 3 is a personal work book. So when you want to do some personal work and you want to do it in a clever way, like this isn't like, let's dive in and deal with my trauma. I mean, I have dealt with trauma using this book, but in a very surreptitious and gentle way. This book is super magical, so inspiring. Are you just dying to know what it is? Here it is. The Holy Wild by Danielle Delsky. This book. First of all, Danielle's writing is luscious. She's very much like Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves. She is a storyteller, a modern storyteller, but like I said, her writing is luscious. It's so delicious to read her works. All her books are good, but this one is really great and it's really fun because it deals with the 5 elements, earth, air, water, fire, ether, and it deals with 5 different stories of women that she takes and reclaims. So women that maybe have gotten a bad rap because of patriarchy. She then takes and does a retelling of the story and takes you through that and has you delve into an element of self through it. And then what's really cool about this book are these sections that are in dark, handwritten verses where she, after you've read the stories, you're kind of taken into this world or taken into this metaphor. It's really gentle. And then she asks some questions and you can journal them. You can just say them out loud. You can ponder them for a day. So powerful what comes up. Let me tell you, all of us have trauma. Every single one of us has uncomfortable things that we continue to deal with. Maybe you have something that you're like, God, I'm peeling another layer of it. What this book has allowed me to do is I don't know what part of myself I'll be approaching. So I don't have my guards up. I don't have my ideas of how I've already worked through this or what I've thought about or how I've approached it or how difficult it was. I don't have any of that going into it. I begin to answer the questions and suddenly I'm answering them about an aspect of myself and I'm not fearful. I'm not upset. I'm surprised. I'm like, wow, this is just flowing out of me. And I'm getting a completely different view on this aspect of myself. Some of it trauma, some of it not, just surprising aspects of myself. She then has a whole section in the book on like magical workings that you can do with them. They're very simple and there's a ton of them. So you could spend years with this book. You could just read the story. You could read the story and do the questions. You could decide, oh, this year I want to work with the element of fire. Or right now I want to work with the element of fire. What's Danielle have to say about fire? And you'll go in there and it just really inspires you. It inspires you that you can look at life differently. This book is really about re-scripting your stories, rewriting the stories that are within you. And it's so interesting. I picked up this book just a couple months ago, actually. And I had been writing in my journal about re-scripting my stories and writing a bunch of letters to myself about how I wanted to redo the stories in my life and what stories I'm tired of. And then I picked up this book and it's just allowed me to, I'm so surprised by what comes up and how I look at it and how I deal with it and how instead of feeling like I'm ripping off layers of an old wound, I feel like I'm coming into layers of empowerment regarding the old stories in my life. The Holy Wild by Danielle Delsky, so good. Very good. Okay. Next, I guess this is book number 5. Is that right? Have I really already done? Am I missing a book somewhere? No, this is book number 5. Sorry, guys. Book number 5. If you need something that will inspire you to get out into nature and to work with divination, with nature in a whole new way, this is the book for you. This book has been very inspiring to me, and it's the perfect toilet book. How many of you have toilet books out there? I love toilet books. Just keep them on there. You can open them up and just read a little snippet, and you can take that with you into your life. It is Liz Dean's Natural Hidden Oracles. Such a great, it's a little tiny book. It's got a section on oracles of trees, flower divination, herb scrying, oracles of stone, and then it's got natural charms. It's so fun, you guys. Look, you just go, oh, what am I going to open to? And you open up, and here we have the meaning of clusters. And you can just read up on clusters. It's cute. It's not overly illustrated. It's a great little book. It's hardback, so you can easily take it and just like put it in your backpack, take it with you out on a walk. This book is so fun because to me, I love reading up on a section like, okay, let's read up on the flower divination. The thing is, when we use a book, when we read a book, we are attuning our consciousness to an idea. And as soon as we attune our consciousness to an idea, it shows up like all around us. So I read up on flower divination, and then I go out and like suddenly out of the corner of my eye, ooh, what's that? That flower's calling me over there. And I remember the flower divination. Now maybe I go over and I try the flower divination, but more than likely what happens is I realize that I have a connection, that I can speak to this tree or this stone or whatever. And it reminds me to tap into how I naturally do that, my own natural witchcraft, in that this book reminds me that I have all sorts of natural sparkles within me, and that I am able to tap into magic wherever I go by just being me. Full of tons of wonderful ideas, ways for connecting with nature, and it reminds me of omens. Like I begin to be more aware of natural omens around me. I think this is great because these are all things you can do in the city too. You don't have to be out, in the middle of nowhere to do these. Natural Hidden Oracles by Liz Dean. Really good book. Love it, you guys. Check it out. My last 2 books are fiction books, and fiction to me is vital. It is vital because I'm a studier, These are all wonderful books. You can't do personal work all the time. I don't need to be studying all the time. I'm not always doing seasonal magic or herbalism. I need something that carries me into the romance of life. And so I like books that are very romantic in their writing style and very luscious. It's just why I like a lot of the books here and the way that they're written. And I suspect you guys do too. So book number 1, Wayward by Emily Hart. This just came out and I finished it about 2 weeks ago. This book is inspiring because it is all about natural magic. This is not Harry Potter. It is not Harry Potter at all. If you have a natural affinity for plants or animals, you will love the magic in this book. This book features 3 women from 3 different eras, the 1600s, the early 1900s, early to mid 1900s, and then present day. This book reminded me of how we carry our matrilineal magic within us. It reminds me of how we can heal things for other generations, and how everything that my mother's mother did in her life, I carry that in my bones. I carry that magic within me. I carry that experience within me, and I have the ability to tap into that. So it's very inspiring in that way. From a practical standpoint, I feel like it reminded me that romance is in the everyday. Romance is found in my connection to what I have and who I am right now. And that if I just slow down enough, I will realize that my magic is calling to me all the time. And I think that was powerful about this book. I do want to say there's a little bit of a trigger warning in this book. If you have been in a very physically abusive relationship or even a mentally abusive relationship with someone, you could be triggered by this. The characters are overcoming, patriarchy. And there is one character, the modern character, she is really overcoming an abusive situation. So it could be very triggering. If you feel like that's just too much, like you don't have enough healing there, this might not be the book for you. But that being said, this book, Wayward, was really about how we tap into where we are right now, and that especially the modern tale was very relatable to how we all have to overcome. We all have to do the work to overcome, and that it's not an overnight thing. We're not all warriors chopping it all down and nothing ever bothers us. It's really about taking back ourselves bit by bit and claiming that in surprising ways and in a realistic way. And so in many ways, I felt like it was super empowering. There were times that I was annoyed with the modern character because she's overcoming an abusive mindset. And having been in an abusive relationship, I totally get it. I totally get these thoughts and how, like, if you haven't been in an abusive relationship, it would be hard to understand how someone could sound so pathetic at times. But when you've just been brainwashed like that, that's how it is. However, it's about powerful natural magic. It was very inspiring, and I think it's a great book for spring because it will really inspire you to get out and just be your magical self out in nature. My last book, last but certainly not least, it's an older book by Signe Pike, and it's The Lost Queen. Oh my gosh, the writing in this, I love it. The writing in this one is just so beautiful and romantic. It's just, it's just lovely. And if you listen to it on Audible, the narrator is fabulous, just incredible. This again is a story. It's a 3-generational story about these women. And I want to say like maybe the 11th century. I don't know. That's terrible. I actually read it at the beginning of the year. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm thinking of like, I read it around Samhain, the beginning of that year, the wheel of the year. I'm going to listen to it again because the 3rd book is going to be coming out at the end of this year, 2023, or the beginning of 2024. And it's just so fabulous. What I think is very powerful about this book is that one of the primary lessons of this book is that we all have things that we want to be doing, like people that we wish we were. And then there's the people that we are born to be and the circumstances that we are thrust into. And it's what we make the most of. And this book is about the reconciliation of that, is the reconciliation of these women and who they are and what's available to them because of where they're born, what they're born into. These are magical women. They are what's known as wisdom keepers. They are herbalists. They all have their own unique magic, and there's different storylines going on in here with these different women. There's conquest going on along the side, and these women, of course, are always a part of those conquests, right? And this is their lives within that. What I think is really powerful, and I'm going to use a personal example, is that sometimes we are living a life that we think, where's the magic in this? I just don't feel like I can be my magical self in this. So although I am a professional tarot reader and I do that 2 days a week, I work in town in my husband's law office and I help people get their disability benefits. When I first started doing that, I felt like, wow, I'm just pushing paper for the government. And it was so dry and horrible, and I felt like I was going to die in this job. And then I thought to myself, how can I really allow my magic to come through with where I am? And now I see that this is my chance to come alongside people in a very vulnerable time in their life, to be a comfort and a kindness, to really release love where people need it, and to grab hold of the gifts that are available to me. So wherever you are in your life, whatever job you have or life you're living, maybe you do need to get out. Like, I'm just going to say, if this isn't a physically abusive relationship, you probably need to get out safely if you can. But that aside, that job that's horrible, that career you never planned on, the fact that you're tired of being a stay-home mom and it's just getting really old, whatever it is, whatever that story is, there's something so powerful in surrendering to where you are in the moment and allowing yourself to maximize that and allowing your gifts to rise up and out of you and into that situation. And I've always found that when I do that, when I maximize that, what happens is there's a joy born out of that in me. I grow in my skill and my personal strengths, but then I evolve and the job evolves, or something new shows up, or I naturally just graduate into something that feels more like me. But it's in the surrendering to it, in the surrendering to self, and deciding to show up authentically wherever you are, whenever you are, that is the true magic. And I think this book, that's one of the themes that's in it. Other than that, it's luscious. It's an epic novel. It's a tale of triumph. It's the tale of 3 women born to 3 different lives, each of them kind of longing for the other and finding their magic and overcoming in so many powerful ways. The Lost Queen by Signy Pike, it's my last recommendation. It's my fiction recommendation. It's gorgeous. And of course, there's the second book, which is available right now. So I hope that you're inspired by that. Let me know what books inspire you in your magical practice down below, and what you thought about this and other videos. Like I said, I just cannot do all vlogs all the time. And so I really wanted to be on here sharing a little bit more with you about my magical practice. And so there will be more videos like this in the future. During this time, may you find yourself inspired by the world around you and who you are at this moment. May you have the strength and the bravery to tap into that and to trust the sparkles wherever they lie, grabbing hold of them and weaving them into the tapestry of your now.